A lot of people have asked me what my actual opinions are on aliens, UFOs, and the drip feed of information that we're currently receiving from all these sources, whistleblowers, etc. Like especially David Grush, probably the biggest sort of bombshell piece of news that came out in the last month, where he was just basically going on record under oath saying, yep, this is 100% a thing. We do have alien craft, we're attempting to reverse engineer them, and we have been trying to do so for a very long time. What is my opinions on this? I fully think this is actually happening. The reason I'm making these UFO videos is not just because I've always been interested in it. I mean, who isn't interested in aliens and UFOs and the possibility? Even if you think it's complete BS, you've got to admit that it's still fascinating, all of the elements of UFO related stuff and alien things in our culture, the greys, the saucers, the spheres in the sky, that interestingly have been sort of reported by humans for centuries. This painting from the Vatican is probably my favourite piece of ancient historical ideas of what these spherical things are. If you look, there's so many sources you can read through of people saying like the 1800s that saw these sort of flying cars in the sky, these flying chariots. It even goes back to like ancient Greece. It really does feel like, I think aliens have actually been with us forever. UFOs, aliens, UAPs, whatever you want to call them. Highly advanced, intelligent alien life and spacecraft. Whether there's thousands of species of them, whether there's one, I don't know. I don't know the nitty gritty of it. But when you just open your mind up to the possibility, think about it, and especially this especially ties in with sort of the mystical, psychedelic stuff I like to cover on this channel. So think about this for a bit. Aliens are just, or what we perceive as aliens, a grey alien, a reptilian, an energy being. It's just one of the many forms that consciousness can take on. There is literally an infinite potential for consciousness if you venture deeper into your spirituality, your psychedelic journey. This is one of the insights you'll realise, that consciousness isn't limited, and even in this physical sort of limited realm, intelligence goes way further than humans. Obviously someone will say, well, where is your evidence for this? There is no aliens in my backyard. But you just have to sort of take yourself out of your like restrictive, logical, scientific mind, and realise that, well, to be fair, even science points towards this. Like, science clearly tells us that there are trillions of planets in our universe, or at least 1 trillion that we know of. How can we even say as a species that we are the most intelligent life forms? It would make more sense that in this sort of infinitely expanding universe, there are going to be countless species capable of doing things that we can't even fathom. There are probably, let's get even deeper than this. There are probably alien species that are even more advanced than the ones that have been visiting us. Obviously, I don't know how many species have visited us, whether these crafts, these spheres, because there obviously seems to be very many different types of UFOs. Let's say the classic ones that people seem to see quite a bit, just the spheres, which I have actually seen. Earlier this year, I actually just decided to sit in my local park on my way home, and instead of going home, I was like, I'm just going to sit down on this bench and look up at the sky, because how often do I actually do that? How often do normal people who aren't like avid stargazers just sit there and look up at the sky and take it all in? Even just the magnitude of reality, this is a very profound thing to do, just staring up at the sky. It really puts you in your place. But how often do we actually just look at these lights in the sky and analyze them and try to think, what actually is that? I'm just assuming that that's a satellite. Obviously you could just say that I'm assuming it's a UFO, because what I'm about to say is that I did see one of them classic sort of balls in the sky that wasn't high up enough to be a satellite or a star, I assume, and it definitely seemed to be intelligently manned, and it was moving in a way that I don't understand how it could be done with human technology. Obviously there's no propulsion. It seemed to be anti-gravity technology that could literally sort of move on its own axis and move anywhere it wanted intelligently. And I just started looking at phrases like, obviously, immediately my mind went to, no, of course that's not aliens. Of course it's not UFOs. And then when I looked at it, it did all the classic stuff. It was there, it was moving around, sort of, intelligently scanning things, and then it zipped off. just as soon as I'd seen it, in like the 10 minutes since I'd seen it, really. And that's the only real time I can say that I actually started believing that maybe there are more of them than we actually think. Maybe they're everywhere. Because, yeah, a lot of this, what I'm saying, is speculation. This is just my theories based on my life experience, my mystical experiences with psychedelics, insights into reality, and researching to the best of my ability, which I do suggest you actually, if you're interested in this topic, don't just watch like whatever Ancient Aliens and all these sensationalist documentaries that are out there, because there's so much BS surrounding UFOs, I will admit that, and I do understand why people are like super skeptical about it, but there's some serious sources out there right now. Red Panda KOALA, his content on YouTube is the closest I've ever found to full-on factual, take that with a grain of salt, factual, because he's just doing his best to get as much pure knowledge out there as possible. It's the closest I've ever found to a factual documentary on what is actually going on with aliens. So 100% if you're into this stuff, go and check him out. I've been following him for ages now, and it's just some of the most enlightening UFO type content there is on YouTube. Check out Theory of Everything with Ross Coulthart, the interview he did. The 2 parts where the first one, he was just talking about his experience with this whole thing, and then the second one was more about his interview that he did with David Grush the other month, which is probably the biggest bit of bombshell information that we've received in quite a while, I'd say, since like the Pentagon videos a few years ago where they got declassified. And it really does seem like we're being drip-fed information. What is the government's plan? What's the military's plan? What's actually going on in there? Did Congress know? Does the president know? How many people are actually possessing this real knowledge about what is actually going on? I don't know. We can only speculate that. And all I can say is that it definitely does seem like the more time goes on, and I think within my lifetime, we will probably acknowledge the existence of these UFOs, because to me now, I can't deny it anymore. Obviously, it's good to be a skeptic, especially around stuff as profound as this. Like this would be one of the most profound things ever if it's like 100% got confirmed, which I don't think there will be a 100% declassification. You're not going to wake up and turn on BBC and it's like, aliens have been confirmed. It's not going to be like that at all. But I think it's time for us to stop limiting our understanding of the universe. The most scientific thing in the world, I'd say, is to understand that there is intelligent life that is orders of magnitude beyond the human mind, and it definitely exists because we live in this infinitely expanding universe. There's no oh, it might be happening about it anymore. This 100% is the case for me. Whatever, if you don't believe it, I don't care. This is 100% the case for me as someone who has been thinking about this consciously, as wisely, and as in the best attempt to understand this in the most pure fashion possible. Once you just open your mind up to it and start thinking about it, it just makes so much sense. And yeah, I don't know how long these things have been visiting Earth for. I don't know if there's little green or grey alien men running about. I don't know about all the other like theoretical pieces of speculation, but what I do 100% know is that there is intelligent life out there that is way, way smarter than us and is able to manipulate reality, manipulate physics, matter in ways that we cannot even comprehend, or even in ways that we probably think is scientifically impossible. Reality goes way deeper than just this human reality. We need to realize that, and that was the big insight I had, even more so than when I saw that sphere in the sky. I just looked up and thought, how on earth do we think that reality doesn't get more complex than this? How on earth do we not think that there are alien minds out there that are far more interconnected and smarter than humans, to the point that it makes us look like ants? A bit like how we're like godlike beings on this planet, able to create cities and computers and AI and everything. It makes ants and lower intelligence beings just look like amoeba, just these very simple things. Let's extrapolate that outward and take an alien consciousness that can literally dart from one end of the universe to another using speed of light, anti-gravity, wormholes, whatever or literally just sort of thinking it into existence, sort of. Obviously I'm getting a bit woo-woo here, but let's just open our mind up, say, to the infinite possibility of consciousness and say that, oh yeah, this could actually be a thing. It makes us as humans look like ants in comparison to them. There just doesn't seem to be a limit on consciousness for me. That's one of my main understandings through psychedelics and just life, experience of life in general. This human experience is just on the lower end of things. These alien consciousnesses will be so unbelievably holistic and integrative. They'll be able to do things that we just think are magic, impossible. Things that, yeah. What's funny is that a lot of these sort of like Lou Elizondo, he's coming out and saying that these UAPs, UFOs, whatever you want to call them, can operate in ways that, yeah, we just don't understand. Like, they can literally just be completely stealth-like. They can just be invisible. They can interfere with our technology. They have gravity. They have ways to manipulate sort of propulsion that we just don't understand. Not even propulsion. They can just move. They can just move on their own axis without even having any sort of fuel or energy that we know of, or ignition. It's clear to me that even if you don't think that there are like alien beings inside these, because maybe they're not, maybe these spheres are just sort of like intelligent themselves, whatever you want to think of it as. 100% the government and the military is acknowledging that there are things out there that we don't understand. There are these spheres that if you look on Reddit, and even like TikTok and stuff, obviously there's a lot of crap on TikTok. I will say that, yeah, there probably will be a lot of just like completely fake stuff. Look at this stuff that's going on in the front lines of like Ukraine. There's been loads of these soldiers. There's been loads of military officials that are saying there are these spherical, shining white orb things that defy our understanding of technology and reality, and they're there. They're going to these really important places. They're going to nuclear bases, military bases. It very much seems like they're scanning us, analysing us, a bit like how we analyse lower intelligent species. I hate calling them lower species, that was so offensive to the animals. But like, why do we make these nature documentaries? For the pure love of understanding life and consciousness. And why are these aliens coming to Earth? For the pure, literal sort of love, and this is my idea of why they're coming here, the love and understanding of analysing the whole universe, the extent of consciousness and reality, and how deep and mystical and wonderful it actually is. Obviously, maybe there's some super reptilian beings that are like mutilating humans and mutilating our cattle just purely for how, say, we like to mess up like anthills or whatever, just purely for the fun of it. The twisted sort of pleasure we get out of messing up ecosystems. Maybe there are aliens like that. I'm literally open to any possibility now. To be honest, I've gotten so deep into this that comprehending an alien spacecraft is now actually pretty normal. It makes sense to me. It makes so much sense that there are more intelligent species out there that have developed some technology, some way to come here to just observe the whole universe, or as much as the universe as they're physically able to do. Are they intradimensional? Does it connect with the DMT beings? Are they can they exist between dimensions, between space and time? Is time like a physical dimension that they can manipulate? I don't know. Maybe. That's probably a possibility. I'm open to that as well. Definitely seems there are some connections between the aliens we know of throughout history and culture, the Greys, the UFOs, the reptilians, whatever you want to call them, or whatever the spectrum of all these species are. Probably is a connection between DMT entities, or are they just hallucination of the brain? I don't know, but there's just a lot of interesting parallels, isn't there? You gotta give it to the UFO community. There are lots of interesting parallels that you can sort of put the jigsaw pieces into place, and things start to become a lot clearer. Not 100% accurate or true or even like factual, but does start to seem easier to comprehend. Yeah, it's actually easy for me to comprehend these aliens spacecrafts now. It seems pretty normal compared to like the highest things of reality that you can become conscious of, especially on psychedelics. Obviously, I'm not saying psychedelics are the be-all and end-all of understanding reality at all, because that would be a limiting factor on reality. I definitely think we can go deeper in other avenues, and mate, reality is just infinitely deep. Whatever, we're going to discover even deeper facets to science, and our understanding of just reality itself is always constantly evolving. But to me, yep, these alien spacecraft, it seems pretty normal. which is strange because for the most people it's just like, well, surely that's not real, it's impossible, blah blah blah. I feel like we've conditioned ourselves to believe that it's impossible purely through like culture, and maybe there is a disinformation campaign that's been going on. I wouldn't be surprised, because on one hand I think we have a right to know as human beings, as beings that exist in the universe. We have a right to know that there are things outside of us, and have confirmation of this, and have confirmation that, say, these UAPs and UFOs aren't, say, some nefarious technology developed by nations in the world that want to destroy us, etc. But on the other hand, I sort of understand why this would get covered up, because are people actually ready to understand this? And I don't know if they are. Like, I don't know if the mass population of humanity is capable of understanding, fathoming it, or even understanding it as like a great thing. Like, it's a great thing that there actually are aliens darting about, analysing stuff in these weird spacecrafts that we don't understand. Like, that is it's just absolutely incredible, isn't it? But there are people out there, especially, say, like staunch conservative Christian types, fundamentalists, who would probably be taken aback by this and may even riot in the streets over it. I mean, that is definitely a possibility, because it'll shatter their whole paradigm, and also it'll sort of shatter the whole paradigm of people who have been dismissing this forever, like scientists like, well, that's completely physically impossible to do that based upon this equation. Like, mate, there's so many people who are just entrenched within their paradigm of material logical understanding that they're not open to sort of even deeper levels of logic, like, right, well, the human mind exists, and we are obviously just one species on this planet. Like, surely the logical thing to do is extend beyond this planet and realise that there are greater minds beyond ours, and beyond that, and beyond that, and beyond that, ad infinitum. That seems more logical to me than saying, nah, well, if it's not there, then it can't be. It's like, this is probably a controversial thing to say, especially for the more scientifically minded people, but I think when it comes to stuff like mysticism, psychedelics, the nature of reality, of consciousness, aliens, UFOs, greater minds than ours, we have to go beyond evidence, because, yeah, I know, obviously, for the world that we live in, we need evidence, we need facts, we need cross-referencing. The scientific method is essential and it's beautiful. But when it comes to stuff like this that is so beyond us, so beyond the methods of understanding reality that we have, we sort of just have to go beyond it and realise that, yes, this is the thing that's happening that I don't need evidence for. There's 100% alien minds out there. And whatever, if you don't agree, then that's fair enough. I just think that in the future, this is coming out in some form or another. It's slowly but surely happening right now. There's big waves happening in the UFO community. I think instead of people thinking it's all tinfoil hat stuff and conspiracy nonsense, I think even the most diehard deniers are now sort of opening up to it. Now, am I saying that the videos I've done, those compelling tales of alien abductions and the first-hand UFO sightings, am I saying they're all real? Nah, probably not. It's just a bit of fun. I just find this sort of stuff interesting. It's just entertaining to read about, and being someone who's into it, whether it's true or not. Either way, this is just something I'm passionate about. But honestly, please don't believe all the disinformation, because UFOs are not a hoax. It's not the ramblings of nonsensical, crazy people. There is simply overwhelming evidence out there from multiple sources, military sources, normal people, people in government, whistleblowers, and the stuff they're coming out with is beyond anyone's ability to debunk. There's people who've literally said they're like these metamaterials, these materials that we don't understand, that we've found, and craft and spheres. People are literally coming out saying they've actually got these spheres, and it's like, oh, why can't you take a picture, blah blah blah. One of my theories, and a big theory that's going around that, say, Lou Elizondo puts forward, is that these craft actually have the ability to interfere with our technology, because, I mean, of course they would, because they're so intelligent. If they're intelligent enough to make these craft to get here from wherever they come from in the universe, I think of course it makes sense to be able to manipulate stuff in our human existence to make sure that people don't find out. Because if they're super intelligent, they realise that they can't just fucking turn up to New York, get out the craft and be like, I bring you love. Like, it's just not how it works, is it? They're much more intelligent than that. They know that we're a fragile species and that we can't just instantly comprehend, like, oh, our alien brothers, let's all hold hands. Like, it just literally just doesn't happen, mate. Like, or it won't happen because we're not ready. We're in such an if think of the grand scheme of things, we're in our infancy as a species. We're going to become so much more intelligent in thousands, hundreds of years. It just makes so much sense, and it's a shame that this whole field of UFO studies is it's just rife with epistemic delusion. Yeah, and there is obviously still so much we don't know, even regarding sort of like the legitimacy of all these claims. And yeah, you've really just got to like pick through the kernels and try and make your own truth. Which again, I know this would probably sound sort of like heresy to scientific people, but yeah, right now this is all we've got, and yeah, I think a lot of us just need to take our minds out of the box and think in a higher sort of degree to what is actually going on. So, and I think obviously we really are alive at a perfect time for this sort of disclosure. If you look into a lot of stuff, it seems that, yes, say all the big crashes that were happening and the retrievals happening around the 40s, the 50s, say in the Cold War when we were sort of teetering on the edge of nuclear annihilation, seems like the perfect time for these UFOs or alien species or whatever that have been with us for potentially thousands of years. They would probably start making themselves a bit more present around then, because I guess like how we observe habitats that get destroyed, species that go extinct, we're fascinated to know why it's happening and sort of like try to help out, and maybe they're doing that in their own possible way. So yeah, there's a lot to speculate about, and I'd like to do more in-depth videos on, say, Roswell and the first crash that happened during World War II, and the connections between the war and aliens and nuclear stuff, and why it's all coming out right now. So yeah, there are exciting new developments coming, and they will do over your lifetime, and it's just not going to stop, is it? This is just... It really has only just begun. So yeah, basically, don't get caught up in wild speculation, and especially any kind of fear-mongering narratives about UFOs. I just think people who are in this community, and you've seen it yourself, you've even had sightings yourself, you're into this stuff, researching it the best you can to try and get the most comprehensive understanding. I would say the fact is that there are UFOs flying around. We just don't understand what they are. We can't reverse engineer them. And we just don't understand what our governments are doing about it at all, because this is just like would-be top secret stuff. So yeah, try not to get carried away with everything, and keep your thinking cap on the best you can. And check out Red Panda Koala, Theory of Everything. I'll link all of them in the description. Hope you've enjoyed this video, and let me know if you'd like me to talk more about this crazy, wacky topic. So yep, enjoy guys, going to Rosa Festival in the next few days. Won't see you for a bit. Take care, and keep conscious.